So you may have noticed that I haven't released an episode for a few weeks now. Why is that? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about on today's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, where I, Selena Knight, share strategies, interview retail revolutionaries, and delve into the minds of e-commerce experts to help you grow a profitable, independent retail or e-commerce business. If you're stuck in a rut, or if you feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've overachieved all of the things that you've set out to and are wondering what to do next, or how do I even make this better? I know that you're going to love today's episode. If you're stuck in a rut, feel like business is way harder than it should be, or you've achieved all of the things that you set out to and are wondering what next, or how do I even make this better? Then I know that you're going to love today's episode. Hey there, and thanks so much for joining me today on the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. I'm your host, Selena Knight, the Retail Growth Strategist, and today is the first time I've released an episode in, I think we're at 5 weeks now. And why is that? Well, there are a few reasons. The first one is I just needed a break. Coming up with content, putting your energy into finding guests, interviewing guests, creating content for the podcast, it takes a lot out of you. And I decided at Easter time that I was just going to take a few weeks off. But then something happened. I took a whole week off of work. I did have to show up for a couple of pre-arranged meetings. We have our Scale Your Store live masterclasses going on right now. So there are a couple of things I had to jump in and do. But essentially, I took that time away to just hang out with my family, do some bushwalking, do some hikes, do some cooking, drink a few glasses of wine, hang out with my neighbors, hang around the house. We did some work on the back deck that we're renovating, just kind of, just chilling out. And then it was time to come back to work. So on my first day back, I walked down to my office and I sat down at my chair and realized so much. I just had so much clarity on where I wanted my business to go, the things I wanted to do, the things I wanted to say. I actually spent the majority of my first day back at work writing stuff out on my giant whiteboard. I'm really lucky it's got 2 sides. So I had all the different colored pens and I was drawing funnels and writing down ideas and mapping out who we need to hire next, all those sorts of things. It just took that space away from my business to come back with this newfound passion and enthusiasm and clarity on where I wanted my business to head. Now that was also magnified by heading off to my first real life in-person conference up on the Gold Coast the week before Easter. It was the 3-day Retail Global event and I was due to speak on day 3. Now, I have tried to speak at Retail Global before and COVID shut us down. Anyway, I flew up first thing Monday morning and as I touched down on the Gold Coast, everybody on the plane's phones just went mental. And I looked down at my phone and there was a message there from Elizabeth that said, OMG, Brisbane has just gone into lockdown. Now, for those of you overseas, the distance between Brisbane, which went into lockdown, and the Gold Coast is about a 40-minute drive. It is not very far at all. And so due to a COVID outbreak, they had locked the whole of Brisbane down for 3 days, which meant around about half of the people who were attending the conference could no longer come. It also meant that there was a pretty good chance we weren't going to get through all 3 days if there was a COVID outbreak on the Gold Coast. Now, sure enough, day 2 came, and whilst the conference was still going ahead, by lunchtime, just after lunch, we got the message to say that the government was shutting the conference down. So cue a little bit of mass panic, everybody trying to shuffle around their flights, get back to the airport and get back home because there's no guarantee that the borders wouldn't be closed. So I was one of those people, managed to reschedule my flight back to that night, rushed back to the hotel, packed up my stuff, got my Uber to the airport and waited for my flight home. And sure, I was terribly disappointed that once again I did not get to speak at Retail Global, but it was so worth my time because one, I met some fantastic people at that conference, the people that I sat next to at lunch, just different store owners, different brands, different companies that can help my customers, my clients, you guys, to grow your businesses. Having these conversations in person, that is what lights me up. And I mentioned just recently that I didn't think that COVID had affected me very much because we were really, really busy. But the fact was, I get my energy from being around other people. And so I had fallen into that slump of just hanging out on my own with my family and everything was on Zoom. But I don't get my energy from Zoom. I get my energy from meeting people in real life. And if that's you, if you're that kind of person, maybe you've found yourself in this slump as well. Maybe you haven't even realized that that's where you are. So check in with yourself. But that conference, being around those people, I was so excited and I was so inspired. It meant going into those Easter holidays, my brain was just firing on every single cylinder. So in my mad dash to the airport, I was on the next available flight home and I managed to sit next to a remarkable lady. She was also at the conference and we could tell because we all had the conference masks on because you have to wear your mask in the plane. And so you know me, I'll talk to anyone about anything. I struck up a conversation. We talked all the way home and just having, again, this one-on-one conversation with someone who didn't even know me and was able to give me some insights and some advice. And walking off that plane, I felt the most inspired and clear thinking that I have in so long. That conference gave me the energy and the confidence to think big again. And then taking that into my break from work, it just allowed all of these ideas, these concepts, all the juices to flow. And I came back to work with some really, really big ass goals. I mean, I am so excited for where our brand is heading, for the things we can do for you guys, for the relationships that we're building with other companies to give you the information and the knowledge and the tools that you need to grow. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I am super excited about the whole thing. And then just this past week, I was invited to a retailer's recognition dinner. It was to say thank you to the people who are changing the industry. And I'm so thankful to organisations like the NORA Network here in Australia, the National Online Retailer Association, for putting these kinds of events on. And this was just a really low-key, it was a 1920s theme, just a low-key dinner, networking, some drinks in a beautiful setting. And again, I spoke to some amazing people and I shared my knowledge with some really big enterprise customers. I didn't realize that what COVID had done was made me fall back into playing small. I mean, we were busier than ever, but my big dreams, my big ideas, my big visions, my big opinions, they'd all kind of fallen by the wayside as I focused on growing my business. So at this event, I got chatting to the lovely guy next to me who was the Chief Growth Officer for a really big retailer about the 5 pillars of retail success and my philosophy that if you do what you're crap at for 90 days, you'll see exponential growth. And they were so excited about it. The Chief Growth Officer actually went and got the CEO to come back and talk to me about my whole philosophy and how it works and how they could implement it in their business. And guys, that's what I'm here for. I want retail to be exciting and innovative and have an amazing customer experience and to deliver as much for the customers as it does for you, the business owners. Now, with all this clarity, it's had me rethinking the podcast. Now, I love this podcast. I love interviewing people. But what I really love is the stories. I love the journey. I love hearing how someone went from this to that, from nothing to millions, sometimes billions. And so over the next couple of weeks, you'll be hearing a few podcasts where I've guested on other people's shows because in the background, we have secured some amazing guests for you. Think billionaires, people who went from literally working on their kitchen table to running billion-dollar businesses. We're talking acquisitions, mergers, how people get to that stage of venture capital, and all of the stories behind the people. So I'm sure you will look forward to that as much as I do. But while we're putting all that together, like I said, I'm going to share with you some guest podcasts that I've done with other people, and make sure to check out their podcasts. You never know, you might just find a new favorite. When I was recently interviewed by Kurt Mueller on the FLIP podcast, the Financial Leadership and Investment podcast, he went a little bit off book and he started asking me some questions. And in this episode that I'm about to share with you, we talk all about working capital, how to have money in your business, investing in your business. We talk about supply chain disruptions and how they can actually hinder you from hitting your goals that you set. We talk about drugs and addiction in business and about choosing your impact path. So whilst you might already know about the 5 pillars of retail success, I think you're going to love this episode. As I said, it was recorded with Kurt Mueller with the Flip podcast, where we talk about so much more, especially about investing in your business. Make sure to check out Kurt Mueller's Flip podcast if you know that your money pillar might need a little bit of work.
Welcome into the Flip Podcast, Financial and Leadership Intelligence with Purpose. My name is Kurt Mueller, and I'm the host of this show. Today, I'm excited to welcome in Selena Knight. Selena is a retail strategist and creator of the 5 pillars of retail success. You can connect with Selena and find out about everything she's doing to impact and help people scale their business at selenaknight.com. Selena, welcome, and thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Kurt, thanks so much for having me. I am super excited because there is nothing more that I love when it comes to work than helping people make more money and grow their businesses. Like that just makes my heart sing.
I love that. I love that. And we were chatting before the show about some pretty cool things that we're going to dive into. But before we do, spend a few minutes, if you could, and just help our listeners, understand your story, how you got to where you are today.
Well, it's a very long story. Let's just fast forward to in my late 20s when I was pregnant with my first child, and I've always been a big fan of sustainability. I was an arborist before I was a business strategist. And what I discovered in hindsight, you never know this stuff as you're going along, but in hindsight, what I discovered, I was way better at hacking businesses' growth than I was climbing trees. The funny thing is, I actually am scared of heights. So I would be climbing these trees and my legs would be shaking. But when it came to being on the ground, looking back, I put all these processes in place to actually streamline businesses, help them make more money, use less resources, and I didn't know that that's what I was good at. But fast forward to when I was pregnant with my daughter, I've always been very eco-friendly, and this was back in 2007. So kind of when e-commerce was brand new. I couldn't find the products I wanted. So I wanted reusable nappies and baby carriers. All those things are pretty common these days, but they weren't back then. And so I was importing these things from overseas, and I was actually getting products manufactured. And I started my first e-commerce store when I was pregnant. But back then, Facebook was literally brand new. I remember I could put a post up that said, Selena is very excited about a new box of stock, and 2,000 people would see it. It was so
Right.
good. So on the plus side, so 2007 was the beginning of the global financial crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had a business degree, and I can tell you it taught me nothing about business. I definitely had to learn everything the hard way. So decided to leave my government job, nice, easy, well-paying job, and open a store because you couldn't find these things in real life. And I had the e-commerce stuff. It had been going on the side for quite a while, and I was bringing in a good amount of money. So left the corporate job, decided to open a store pretty much right when the GFC went bang. And look, the good news is that taught me how to be resourceful. It really taught me that I had to be trying new things. I had to be doing what nobody else was doing. I had to be dynamic. I had to build a community, all those things that are kind of taken for granted these days. But back then, it was all new.
Mm-hmm.
But on the negative side, what I found was I just literally ping-ponged around. I'm not a very organized person. These days, I live my life by Google Calendar and Asana. But back then, when it was all very new, I would just find myself, we call it ping-ponging, putting things on the shelves, doing purchase orders, serving customers, packing orders, dusting the shelves. Like it would just be this. And I don't know about you, but as an entrepreneur, our mindset is very much shiny new things. And we get bored really, really easily.
Yes.
So we tend to start stuff, but we don't necessarily tend to finish it. And so this was also happening with pretty much everything in my business, but a lot with my marketing. I would start things and then I would listen to a podcast, or I would see something, or I would think of something, and I would put that into place. So everything was a bit half-assed and nothing ever really got traction. So looking back, I could actually see that a lot of the things I did never really got results. And when I grew big enough to have team and multiple stores, my team were quite often confused because my priorities were changing on a daily basis sometimes. So fast forward to, as I said, in hindsight, you always see these things, but at the time, you never know that it's important. And there was a Saturday when I remember we used to have one of the stores we had was across the road from the beach. And so I used to go to work early before the shop opened, and I get a chai, and I just go in and try and catch up on everything. And I remember this day I had the chai in my hand. It was 8:00. So I'd already left my husband and my baby daughter at home on a Saturday to come to work, put the key in the lock, and chai in one hand, opened the door, and there was like a little kind of 3-foot hallway to go into the shop. And just as I stood in that hallway, it literally hit me that if I kept doing this same thing every day, if I kept putting the key in the lock and opening the door and walking in and doing this every single day, nothing was ever going to change. That's a famous quote, right? Do the same thing every day, nothing's going to change. I didn't know that then. And I remember walking into the store and just breaking down into tears and just looking around going, if I sold everything in this store today, like if somehow someone managed to come in and take everything, I would still only have a few $1,000s left over. By the time I paid everybody and paid everything, there would only be a few $1,000s left over. And so it was at that point, I call it the breakdown before the breakthrough. I was in the storeroom crying my eyes out, just going, why am I doing this? Like something has to change. And so I dusted myself off, got myself a cup of tea, because that's what I do, get myself a cup of tea, had a chocolate biscuit, and was like, right, I need a plan. Now, I'm not very good at making plans. And if I do, they're not very long lived, but I need a plan. And I didn't know it then, but that was actually the beginning of the 5 pillars. It actually took me 8 years to put it into words and a formula that worked. But I remember ringing my husband and saying, I'm selling my house. I had an investment property. I'm selling my house. And he went, why? And I said, because I know that I can't continue to do this every day. And the things I need to do need a cash injection. And if I sold everything in the store, there's not going to be enough money to do that. And I was talking about your previous guest, Michelle. She would have known that. She said you need the working capital. I didn't have that much working capital. So I made the decision to sell my house, invest in my business, and I had to make it work. And just like everybody who's listening on this podcast, it's difficult to pin business owners down and get them to focus. So I'm going to share with you, this is what the 5 pillars will do. So I'll get to that in a minute. But independent business owners, which is who I work with, I don't work with enterprise customers because I'm passionate about giving my knowledge to the people who, it's their money, it's their skin in the game. It's not a big corporate venture capital business. So I'm passionate about moving them from this overworked, underpaid shopkeeper into a CEO role and making sure that they're not, I call it the hamster wheel of hope. Get them off the hamster wheel of hope, hoping that there's going to be enough money, hoping that enough people will come in the door, hoping that enough traffic will come to the website, and moving them to a position where they actually lead their business with clarity, confidence, and control. But the thing is, you don't get the confidence and control if you don't have the clarity. Like you have to know what you need to do. And this is the thing. So many business owners, just wish someone would tell them what they had to do. And so I am happy to tell you on this podcast, every single person, what you have to do.
I love it. Well, let's kick it off. Let's start, right? So
I got my big stick out. This is what you will do.
We're getting right down to it. So let's talk about the 5 pillars, and we'll walk through those and help us understand how those can be implemented and how they help the entrepreneurs that you're serving right now.
Okay, so let's start with the big shift that you have to make. And if you're listening to this podcast and you have a pen, this is what you have to write down. Stop doing what you're good at. And all the guru, I mean, this is what people do what you love, be known for one thing. This is what all the gurus say. Like, just have that thing and be known for it and everybody will come. Well, they might come, but it doesn't mean they're going to come back again. And it doesn't mean you're going to make money. So my philosophy is do the thing that you're crap at. Now, I don't know about you, but in our family, everybody, there's 3 of us, my husband, my 12-year-old daughter and myself, we all hate doing the dishes. Like, to the point where when the dishwasher died on a holiday weekend, we paid for the express guy to bring it out on a holiday day. That is how much we hate doing the dishes. So it's not uncommon to see plastic. For some reason, my family don't put plasticware in the dishwasher. If it doesn't go in the dishwasher, it doesn't get washed kind of person.
Right.
But all this plasticware just kind of mutates on the bench top, and it is not uncommon for that stuff to go moldy, because I get on my high horse and I go, bugger it, if they can't put it in the dishwasher, I'm not putting it in the dishwasher. Of course, they just don't put it in the dishwasher. So stuff goes moldy and you can't get mold out of plasticware. So you end up throwing it away. And this is the thing. The reason this is important is because everybody who is listening has something that they avoid doing. For me, it's bookwork. I hate doing bookwork, but everybody has it. But if I don't do my bookwork, is my business going to grow? No.
Probably not. No.
So I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, but I still make myself send them the paperwork. Now, I could abdicate that responsibility to them, but I know that this is one of those things that I suck at. So just giving myself just that little portion to remain responsible for me is really key. They do all the work. I just send them the bank statements. That's all I have to do. It takes me about 5 minutes, but still, I don't always do it.
Right.
So at any one time, there is always going to be one pillar of business that is holding you back. So I'm going to go through the pillars, and then I'm going to tell you how you can work out which one is the one that's holding you back and which one is the one that you should be focusing on. Are you okay if I jump into those?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Okay. The first one is money. And this is understanding how money flows into, around, and then out of your business. So it's just this understanding of where the money is going. Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? What is allocated? And a lot of people avoid the money pillar. It's always the first pillar I work on, because a lot of people have this belief that they're not good with numbers, or, I've never been very good with money, or I've got a bookkeeper and an accountant for that. If you are not in control of your money, if you don't know where it's going and how much is coming in, how much is going out, and what's all tied up in your money, where your money is all tied up, you will never be profitable.
Right.
And I can say this because I worked with one client, Belinda, who owns natural sports nutrition, an e-commerce brand that sells natural sports nutrition products. She does make those products here in Australia. And we made her 30% more profit in 4 weeks with no extra sales.
Wow. Trimming the fat, so to speak, right?
Trimming the fat, yeah. And none of these things in and of themselves looked to be big, I call them money leaks. None of them looked to be big money leaks. But when you are selling a lot of units, 1 cent, a penny, can make such a big difference. If you save a penny on your packaging and you're packaging 50,000 units, that's all that money that goes into your pocket. That's profit. Profit goes in your pocket. So when you multiply that out, we did packaging, we put her shipping into 3PL. One of the key things that we discovered, and a lot of businesses that sell products never factor in, how much does it cost to send an order? Not the postage part, but the box and the tissue wrap and the sticker and the time it takes for somebody to pack. Now for her, all of that stuff, not including the postage, was $5
per unit, per box.
per box.
Wow.
And so we put it out to 3PL, to a logistics fulfillment company, and that went down to 3. But it also then gave her a whole extra staff member to be working on other parts of the business.
Right.
So can you imagine that? What's that? 40%?
40%
profit back. Just because it didn't, as I said, none of these things seemed big.
Right.
But I am a tight ass. I will always save you money.
Right. But it adds up. To your point, it
all adds up.
It's those small little changes that make a big difference long term.
Yep. And have you ever heard of Pearson's Law, Kurt? I love Pearson's Law.
I have not. Educate me and the listeners.
Okay. Pearson's Law is, and I'm going to paraphrase this, but essentially it's that which is measured improves. So if you measure it, it's going to get better. But there's more. That which is measured and reported improves exponentially. So if you have to take those things that you measure and you have to tell somebody about them, if you are responsible for them, you will improve exponentially. And you will, right? If you have to look at your books and you have to tell somebody that you haven't made a profit, or that your profit's gone down, or that your revenue's gone down, what is the first thing you're going to do? Crap, I need to make more money.
I need to make, right. Right.
So it makes sense. So that is the perfect segue to the next pillar. So far we have money, which is just understanding how money moves into, around, and out of your business. And then we have sales. Sales is the making of the money.
Sure.
Many people get sales and money mixed up. But do you want to know one of the funny things that one of my funny, red flags that I know that sales is the problem? If anyone ever says to me, I just need more customers, it's like, no, you don't. 9.9 times out of 10, you do not need more customers. You do not need to work on your customer pillar. You have to work on your sales pillar.
Right. That's
Because
so true.
Unless you're brand new, you already have an existing customer base. You can always tap back into that. And I have this thing called a customer tracker. It's a simple little spreadsheet that I give to all of my clients. And that thing pretty much has the answer to any business question. And so when one of my clients, Linda, said this, she said to me, she's like, we're doing really well. Everyone who comes into the store tells us that it's beautiful. I got really good engagement on social media. I've got really good numbers on my e-commerce store. Actually, my e-commerce sales are pretty good, but my in-store sales, there's just a couple of days that seem really flat. And of course, if you're in your retail, you always know that there's a couple of days that are always the slow days.
Right.
But here's the thing. When we started filling out the customer tracker, what we discovered was the slow days weren't slow because less people were coming in. They were slow because it was the day that Linda's 25-year-old niece was working and she was spending more time on social media than she was serving customers. So when we looked at what her conversion rate is and what her average order value was compared to everybody else who worked, same number of people coming in the door, and instead of like a 60 or 70% conversion rate, on her days, it was 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she didn't need more customers. She just needed a sales channel that converted. So this doesn't matter if you've got an e-commerce store or a retail store, or if you're in any other kind of business where you sell stuff. I mean, business is about selling stuff, right?
Right.
If you have a sales channel that doesn't convert, whether it's Linda's niece or it's a crappy checkout page or it's a broken sales funnel, if you don't fix that, more customers is never going to help you.
Right.
You've got to fix the conversion problem, not the traffic problem. The traffic problem is getting more customers. And
It's almost like, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you have a sales problem, it's actually probably going to be worse for you if you get more customers.
That's exactly what I was, going to bring up. Is it's almost like you need to work smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
and be more efficient. Because I think, to your point, so many business owners say very similar things to what you are saying. I need more customers. Well, no, not necessarily.
You just need the ones you've got to buy.
There you go. Right. That's so true.
Or to buy more often.
That's right.
So that brings us into customers. Now, there are 7, 8, let me just count. No, 2, 4, 6. 6 different, 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm counting, just making sure. 6 different parts of what we look at the customer journey being, which is first you have to attract them, then you have to catch them. So first of all, they have to know who you are.
Sure.
Then you've got to get them to your store, to your business, to your website, whatever. Then you have to connect with them, because no one buys if they don't connect with your business.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're a 7-Eleven and you're just buying a bottle of Coke. Someone has connected that if I go into that store, it will be open and I can buy a can of Coke.
Right.
Then you've got to get them to convert. That's the part that everybody wants to jump straight to. You've got to get them to give you their money. But then there's the next 2 parts, which a lot of people forget about. So then you have your boomerangs. I call them boomerangs, the people who come back again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your drum beaters. Now, drum beaters are the people who tell everybody about you.
Right.
But drum beaters are not always your best customers. Sometimes they may never have even bought from you. They're often very aspirational and very inspirational. So you can't forget those people. But my point here is, can you tell me right now that you excel at every single part of that customer journey? The answer is probably no.
Of course not. Right.
Yeah. So if you have got your money in order, if you have got your sales in order, and if you've got your marketing and your impact, at any point you can always come back to customer and go, you know what? We need to work on connection, or we need to work on conversion, or we need to work on, harnessing those drum beaters. So each point of that customer journey process almost is a little micro strategy in and of itself. But I like to say that at any one point, your customer pillar is probably going to get worked on as a result of something else. So if we can jump into marketing, which is the next pillar. So we've had money, sales, customers, and marketing. If we jump into marketing, that is about telling the world that you exist, but also getting people to want to buy what you sell. So there's 2 halves of that journey. Now, you might say, we're going to, we need to get more people to know what we sell, so we need more customers. And then you might draw on that customer pillar, but your whole focus is going to be on marketing. And I'll jump into how we do this in a second. But marketing isn't just posting on social media. Marketing isn't just sending out an email. Marketing isn't just putting out a print ad or posting on Instagram. It is the whole point of marketing is telling the world that you exist and then making them want what you sell. Because people can know you exist, but if they don't want what you sell, then what's the point?
Right.
And they might want what you sell, but if they don't know that you exist, again, you have no business.
Right.
Okay. So we won't go too much into marketing, because I'm pretty sure everybody here knows a gazillion different marketing tactics. So let me just quickly jump into the last pillar, which is the impact pillar. And this is the often forgotten pillar. This is about building a brand, not just a store, or not just a business, about having a brand. And I love to use the example of the North Face. I mean, seriously, how does a piece of utilitarian clothing that makes you look 3 sizes bigger than you are become so popular? I mean, why do people, let's be honest, when they put the design brief together for the North Face, their target client wasn't a 40-year-old guy who's walking through the shopping center on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
But true. That's who's buying their stuff. So how did they do it? And it's a combination of all of those things. They have built a brand, not a product. Right. So one of the questions you can ask yourself, and I could go into the North Face forever, but one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, if I took away the product that I sell, if I took myself out of the equation and the product that I sell out of the equation, why the heck would anyone buy from me?
Mm-hmm. So true. Yeah.
And if you can't answer that question, then as long as you've got the money coming in and you've got the sales and you've got the customers, you can work on the impact pillar. But this is the important part. It's probably fun to work on the impact pillar. It's probably fun to work on the marketing pillar. It's generally not fun to work on the money pillar unless you're a certain kind of person. And it's generally not fun to be told that you are crap at selling, or that your team or your website is crap at selling. And so what ends up happening is we blame everybody else. We're like, oh, bloody Facebook isn't showing my post to everybody. Ads are so expensive. My Google ranking's gone down. COVID happened. Now, I can tell you about a couple of stores, Powell's Bookstore in Portland, who sold more books during COVID when they couldn't even ship them.
Wow.
Because they built a brand, not a store. They were able to rehire 100 staff without asking anybody to buy anything, because they built a brand, not a store.
Right.
But at any one time, the thing that you're crap at, the thing that you're avoiding, is holding your business back. So if you don't address it, then how are you ever going to get to that end point? Which is why and because we're entrepreneurs, we love jumping around from thing to thing to thing, which is why I only ever make my clients work in 90-day sprints. There's a whole bunch of research. I'm not the smart person for that, but there's a whole bunch of research about why 90-day plans work. But for me, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a visionary, I need to see results fast. And I'm kind of stretching it even to 90 days. If I can get to the end of a quarter and go, oh my God, holy crap, we increased our revenue by 30%, or we got a 20% increase in our customer data, or I was on 8 podcasts. My pillar that I'm working on right now is my impact pillar. I was on 8 podcasts this week. How many extra people did I get to help because of that? If just one person takes this away and can change their business for the better, then I've done my job. So 90-day plan. Yeah. Sorry,
I was just going to say that is, wonderfully said, because it's so hard to focus beyond 90 or 180 days. It just seems
it's too far away.
It's too far away. Right.
Yeah. And if you do, what happens when COVID hits? If you're still focusing on 12 months from now, then you're not focusing on what needs to be done right now. Right. And we're very good at adapting as business owners, as independent business owners. We're very good at adapting and pivoting and doing all of those things. So if you don't, and this is the problem in air quotes, because if you don't know which pillar that you're working on, then it's easy to get distracted. So I want to give you a really good example of one of my clients who just did this month. And she was about sales. Sales was her focus pillar. And I said at any one time, you might be drawing on the other pillars. So this is a really good example. She needed to bring up her sales, and she wanted to make $14,000 in 90 days from email marketing. So focus was sales, which means every email that goes out is going to have a sales focus. It's not about referring a friend. It's not about a competition. It's about sales. So that in and of itself made it so much easier for her to instruct her team. When we send this out, every email is going to be focused around sales. And she knew that when she sent an email out, she made around $700. So we gave her a specific action of sending out 4 emails a month and hitting $1,000, not $700. So that meant she had to do a little bit of A/B testing. It meant that they had to resend to unopened. She just had to get that number up, because when you have a target, you actually try and hit it.
Right.
So the result was, when we do stretch goals, so it was 4 emails a month at $1,000 an email. So $4,000 was her baseline. And then her stretch goal was 8 emails, so 2 a week, making $1,000. And that was going to give her $8,000.
Right.
She ended up in the middle. They sent about 6 and they made $15,000 in 90 days. The target was 12, the baseline was 12, and they made 15,000. But all because they didn't get distracted and go, oh, we need to make more money. Let's do a giveaway. Or we need to get more customers in the door. Let's do some paid ads on trying to get people into the store or to the website. No, their focus was sales. So everything that they did, every piece of marketing that they sent, every customer that came in, they focused on upsells in store. They put in some post-purchase upsell software on the website. That made them another 30%. So here's the kicker. That same client went from $120,000 turnover in revenue to on track to do $1 million in 5 months.
In 5 months.
Yeah. So she did 2 sales pillars, two 90-day sprints of sales pillars, and is on track to do $1 million. In fact, the only thing stopping her from doing $1 million is she cannot get enough stock to sell.
Right.
Because of COVID.
Supply chain. Yeah.
Yeah. Supply chain. So all things equal, she will be on target to hit $1 million in 5 months.
Wow. That's
no
an impressive turnaround.
Yeah, it was no extra ad spend. There was no extra anything. It was purely this 90-day focus. And it becomes like a bit of a drug, right? It's like, oh my God, I 3x my revenue in 60 days. Let's keep doing it. But the problem then after the second one was, actually, we have issues now. We have some money problems because there's an awful lot of money coming in, but there was also a lot of money tied up in indent orders. So then we had to flip over to the money pillar. So you can't just keep going. You got to keep reassessing.
I would assume if you focus too much on one pillar, then the other ones might start getting cracks in them, right?
Right. But this is the problem. This is the thing, is that every 90 days you should be reassessing your business.
Right.
And saying, is this actually the thing I need to be working on? Or is it the fun thing? Or have I just got a little bit, addicted to the fact that we're making more money and I want more money to come in? But then maybe you need to go back to your customer. When that happens, like you said, the cracks appear. Do you need to go back to your customer pillar and go, actually, our customer retention is not very good because we're so big on acquiring new customers, we're not putting the effort into keeping the customers.
Right.
And anyone in business will know some of the cracks that can appear, but that is why it is so important every 90 days to be going, hold on, what is the thing that's holding us back right now? What is the thing that's keeping us from being that brand that we want to be? Let's work on that. It's 90 days. The world's not going to end.
So let's go back to the first pillar, which is money. And one thing I was thinking about is, you talked about, well, twofold, money and customer retention, right? I think we're in this age where, it seems like we as a species, as a human race are starved for the human connection, right? Because of COVID. I think even before COVID, there was still this, everything was so online, and there was just this, there just wasn't a whole lot of real connection going on. And so my question
I blame social media.
Right. And where's that balance between, sell and make sure all the pillars are in alignment, and, hey, let's make sure we're actually connecting, with our customers, with our clients, and not treating them, not making them feel like they're being treated like a number, right? Like like we really care. How do you balance that?
So for me, it's probably very counterintuitive, but a lot of that can be automated. And this is what we do when I work with a lot of clients, is when I start working with them, they are that overworked, underpaid shopkeeper. They may still have team working for them, but they're answering Instagram DMs at night because they're worried that if someone doesn't answer, they'll lose a customer. They often operate in this very high personal stress environment and with a lot of lack. If I don't, something bad is going to happen.
Right.
But realistically, if you have built that connection, whether that is through social media, whether that is through automation, whether that is just through things like collaborations, your customer will wait till tomorrow for an answer.
Right.
It's about more than just your products. When you are just about product or just about the thing that you sell, that is when you lose customers.
Correct.
And it's actually funny because I always say, I don't think that Amazon has mastered the impact pillar. You only go to Amazon because of price and convenience. And if someone else comes along that is better priced and can get it to you faster, there's no loyalty to Amazon.
Right.
You're only buying those two things that they have. And if someone else can take that away, then you haven't mastered the impact pillar. Now, I know that Amazon, you can give a portion of what you buy back to charity, but I don't know about you. I have to press the button to log in, to get the Alzheimer's people, and then I have to say, yes, I want it. It's not easy. And I don't want it to be easy. But imagine Amazon has so much money, and just being aware that the impact pillar is not about giving everything away. But in this case, I'll just talk about Amazon. They have so much money, they don't need anymore. Imagine if they said, you don't have to press all the buttons. We're going to give 30% of every sale to this charity for this month. If
Right.
you had a choice between Target and Amazon was just even that little bit more expensive, but you knew 30% was going to a charity, you would choose to use them, right? It's because Amazon has no connection with you. Now, how you build that connection is up to your brand, because every brand is going to be different. Some brands are kind of girl next door or guy next door. Some are hero brands, like supplement brands are all about being a hero and being a leader. And maybe it's about giving away knowledge and having celebrities. But something as simple as the welcome email that someone gets, do you know how many businesses? I can tell you the answer. 64% of businesses don't have a welcome email when someone signs up to your newsletter.
Wow. Do not. 64% do not. Wow.
Do not. So if you have that, you are 36% ahead of your competition.
Right. That's so true. And I think it's also, we've talked a lot about email marketing. It's pretty obvious to me just in, listening to you and taking all of this in that, despite what some people may think, email marketing is still very, very relevant, right?
Email marketing has 122% ROI.
Wow.
Social media is 28%. So email marketing is 4x more effective. But yet people still won't send them out because they're worried about getting deleted. They're worried about ending up in the promotions tab. But people don't have, I will jump on the email marketing train any day of the week.
Right.
Because people don't have to open your email to build a connection. Simply seeing your name in their inbox, whether they choose to read it or not, is building connection. You control whether they see that or not. You cannot control whether they see your post on social media.
Very true. That's very true. And I would imagine too, it's much easier to evaluate and measure the effectiveness of emails versus social media. Is that, am I on the right track there? Or am I way out of line?
Yeah. I mean, look, if you go to my social media, it's pretty crap. I don't know inane things to post. Like, I can't come up with, banal things about my life that people want to know. I feel like I'm a very boring person. And sure, we can measure it through the stats inside of social media platforms. We can do promotions that have specific codes. We can run ads, but it's still a very spray and pray kind of marketing tactic.
Right.
The thing about email, people worry about it because they don't know what to put in it. But there's a pretty good chance that the person who's on your email list was you when you started. So just think about all the things that you had trouble with when you started your business and put those in the email.
Right.
And you will build connection.
Building that authenticity goes a long way.
Real authenticity, not social media authenticity.
Right. That's exactly right. So that's interesting because again, you see and hear so much about social media. And one thing that I've noticed recently is, or not recently, but I know that Facebook has been in this battle with Apple over what they're doing. And I've read a few articles. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not entirely sure what the battle's about.
The iOS 14 update.
There you go. And how do you see that, affecting e-commerce and specific to Facebook? How do you see that in terms of advertising on Facebook? How do you see that playing out?
That's a whole nother podcast, Kurt, because Facebook now limits to 8 conversion events and your targeting is all changed. We run a Facebook ads agency, so that's a whole different podcast. But essentially what it comes down to is you cannot rely on any of those one platforms. I don't know if you are aware, but so we're in the beginning of March now. So about 5 weeks ago, there was a huge Facebook update and literally millions of people's ad accounts and Facebook pages got wiped out, gone. They were banned from their pages. Wow. It was huge news in the industry. Hadn't done anything wrong. It was just a glitch. Now, that was huge for anyone who was advertising because I have some brands who can pull in 10 grand a day from Facebook ads. That's a lot of money that they lose. They couldn't even talk to anybody. It was like, it took Facebook support staff about 2 days to even realize it was a problem. And most people got their pages and their ad accounts back within 3 to 5 days. But the stress.
Sure.
But imagine if all those people were on your email list.
Mm-hmm.
That same offer that you were running, you can run to an email list. You can have audiences inside of your email list. We love, for e-commerce, we love Klaviyo. So you can have different audiences. You can see where people have bought. You can, there's this thing called Predictive Analytics. So the AI will know when a customer is likely to churn. And so if they haven't bought based on their previous buying habits, you can send them an automated email. That's like, hey, Kurt, we haven't seen you around for a while. Here's free shipping for the next 24 hours.
Wow. It's impressive.
So connection, I know that there's so much is done wrong when it comes to automation,
Mm-hmm.
but things like that, which when I started out, that was enterprise land. You had to be on a $250,000 a year email marketing strategy package for that. This is all $70 a month now. It's all just built in. It's just you taking the time to go, you know what, I can give you this little diagram because I keep it on my desk. This is what the customer funnel looks like. And how many emails can I just throw in? It doesn't have to be 50. Maybe it's 5. Welcome email, post-purchase email, Kurt, is the most opened email. 97% of people will open the order confirmation email.
Yeah, it's true. I open every one of them.
But how many people ever try and sell to you on that? It's about 2%, I can tell you.
Right. It's not many. It's not many.
You want to make more money? Sell something on the welcome email, sell something on the post-purchase email.
Wow.
Simple.
It seems so simple.
It is. And this is how you make more money, though. Making more money isn't hard.
Right.
But the problem is there are so many things that will make you more money that we try a little bit of this and we try a little bit of that instead of just going, you know what? We're going to focus on customer journey post-purchase for the next 90 days. What can we do to hack the bejesus out of the post-purchase email funnel or post-purchase segment to make sure that we make more money and we get more customers?
Right.
But no one does that because it's not exciting. Just,
that's I was going to say, well, you talked about it earlier and that was, this tendency to put off things that we don't want to do. And we just keep, you talked about the dishes.
Start.
Yeah.
So many people start and they'll go, that's awesome. And they'll buy the software.
And that's it.
And that's it. And then they complain that they're paying $30 a month for some software. That doesn't make them any money.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, then it sounds like a good part of your interactions with your clients in this realm is around accountability, right? Is that fair?
So much. It's Pearson's law, right?
Right.
That which is measured and reported improves exponentially. And if you're paying me money to turn up every week and report back on what you did and how much you made or whatever whatever the result was that you put in place, it's not always about making more money, believe it or not. I can guarantee you the amount of people that do the thing that they're supposed to be doing an hour before my call is probably about 80%. I don't care when it gets done. If you want to make the money, you're paying me regardless of whether you get results or not. But
right.
You pay me a lot of money. So you want to get the results.
Right.
But it is as simple as that. It is having accountability, but it's also knowing what you need to focus on. So I know that not everybody here is retail or e-commerce related, everybody listening, but I have a super fun quiz. It's not a boring quiz. I even have a question about cheese. So
there it is.
If you want to know which pillar, because you can take this and put this into any business. My niche just happens to be retail and e-commerce. selinaknight.com/quiz. Super fun. You can do it while the kettle is boiling. You guys don't have kettles. You have while your Mr. Coffee is dripping. It will take you 2 minutes.
Right.
It's not boring questions. It took us 6 months. This is all data driven, but it took us 6 months to reverse engineer these questions to make them fun. So you may, if you're not in retail, you may have to, think a little bit. The cheese question is, what kind of cheese would you serve at an event in your store? So go through and I will give you the pillar that you need to focus on. And I'll also give you a blueprint on the things that you can do to start working on it straight away.
That's amazing. And I would also assume that in return for that, they get on the email list. Please. They get right.
And you will get a welcome email. In fact, you'll get a welcome sequence. And in that welcome sequence, I talk about I do sell one of my workbooks. So this is really important. I have a workbook in there. I do discount it for new people, called Setting Yourself Up for Success. But you don't have to buy it, right? What
Right.
it does is it sets the precedence of, and I'm pretty sure actually in that email it says, I'll give you a heap of stuff for free, but I also have even better stuff that you can pay for.
Sure.
And here's an example, workbook, $35 or something like that. But then I tell you stories about the people that I've worked with. I tell you my story. I tell you about being in the middle of the GFC and ping-ponging from here to there to everywhere. I tell you the things that didn't work, because I've done a crap ton of things that didn't work.
Right.
But then I tell you the things that do work, and I tell you the things that are working now. So if that's the kind of information that you want, and not everybody on my list is in retail and e-commerce, I do have a lot of just business owners in other niches, but they understand that they can take what I tell them and they can adapt it to their business.
I love that. I love that. Love the passion and the energy coming through. Our interview is awesome. Especially well, for you, it's Saturday. For me, it's Friday afternoon.
Saturday morning, but I will, if as I said, if it means that I can help one person make more money, or just the reason I say make more money, I know we've been talking for quite a while, but the reason I am so focused about people making more money is because the more money you make, the more people you can help. So if you make more money, you can hire a cleaner and put that person in a job. You can hire more staff. You can give to charity. You can send your kid to a better school, but you're also helping your customers.
Right.
They're coming to you to buy the thing that you sell for a reason, whatever that reason is. So the more money you make, it means more people have come to your business to buy your thing. So you have helped more people.
Right. And to your point, by helping more customers, you're able to help charities, your family, etc.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it all,
you choose to do with that money whatever you want. You can go all Wolf of Wall Street and buy fancy cars and houses. But hey, even if you buy a fancy car, you help the guy at the car dealership.
there you go. That's exactly
it's about
right.
mindset.
So in addition to, as we wind down the show, in addition to your website, which again for our listeners is selinaknight.com, how else can they connect with you?
Look, you can come and hang out with me on social media, the Selena Knight. Yeah, I'm not always saying I post an awful lot. What I have realized though, is I really like texting. So SMS messaging. So I'm trying to find an app because I can't get community here in Australia because it's only for people in the US and I can't get to the US. So I'm looking for some kind of text. Guys, if you know what it is, feel free to hit us up on this episode, tag me, because I would love something like community that I can use here in Australia where all my followers are on text message, because I feel comfortable text messaging. I don't feel comfortable posting selfies of me walking the dog. I know it's a thing and I know maybe you like it. It just weirds me out.
It's not your thing, right? It's
just not my thing, which, you know what? It is why I know that I need to build connection with my customers. My thing is podcasts. I love to talk, clearly, because you said 30 minutes and we're now at like 45. So I would rather put my time and effort into having a conversation than I would posting a picture of me walking the dog.
Right. Well, and there's so much more in you can get your passion, your energy, your enthusiasm across a lot better, in my opinion, on a podcast or on a video versus, here's what I'm having for lunch today, or here's my dog, which I think that there's some, personal component to that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I love the energy and the passion, and for our listeners, take the time and connect with Selena. Again, it's selinaknight.com, and make sure that you've jotted down all those 5 pillars that we talked about. They'll be in the show notes as well, so you can reference them. And as we wind down, Selena, any parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
Oh, it would be a whole new podcast, but I have to say, my mantra is stop playing small. So I'm working with right now a business that is doing $4.5 million a year, still playing small, still not sending out emails, still don't even know where they want to go.
Right.
They need an exit strategy. I'm going to get them to listen to Michelle's podcast. They actually need an exit strategy because they have to leave that business due to their age, probably in the next 5 years. But all this time they've been playing small. They can easily be a $10 million business, but they won't focus on the thing that's holding them back. So I don't care how much you're turning over. I want you to ask yourself, are you playing small? Are you thinking small? Are you being a small business owner? Because we actually took that phrase, small business owner, out of our business and banned it. You no longer can say those words in our business. You can be an independent business owner. You can be anything you want, but you cannot be a small business owner, because 9 times out of 10, that phrase is prefaced with the word just.
Great point. You're exactly right.
I can't because I'm just a small business owner. It's not working for me because I'm just a small business owner. So there is no small business owners in our community.
I love that. And that is a powerful way for us to end the show. Again, Selena, thanks so much for taking the time. This has been an awesome, energy-filled, enthusiastic interview. So I appreciate your time and would absolutely love to stay connected.
Thank you so much. And as I said, feel free to connect with me, selenaknight.com/quiz. I guarantee you it's super fun and you'll learn something new in just a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selenaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selenaknight.com and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.